Hello and welcome to my review of the Eryone Marble PLA. So, to get started, I assembled my Eryone Thinker SE. It's probably been about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and its reliability is a world class above my other printers. So when I saw how much difference there was in what it means to get a printer that's much more ready to print out of the box. Now granted, my ANET was a kit printer, so it's not apples to apples, but the reliability of this printer is so good that I wanted to check out their filament. So Eryone makes a marble PLA. I thought that was kind of interesting because I had never really messed around with textured filaments before. So I wanted to see what their filament was like. So I've tried several other filaments before. My favorite so far, if you're in the US, it's Micro Center's Inland PLA. It works really, really well for me. I've got a spool of it hooked up over here. It's our most reliable filament that we've tested. It's also pretty cheap. It's like 15 US per kilogram. Which is a really good price. The Eryone was a little bit more than that, but I was okay with that because it's a really cool filament. The reliability of this filament is easily as good as the Micro Center filament. And one reason that really made me want to choose the marble, there was a Reddit user under the name B. McCurry, I think it was. I'll show a picture right here of the astronaut that they printed out of their Eryone Marble PLA. It was really interesting looking and I was super excited to try that out. I didn't actually print the astronaut. I found a couple of other cooler models that I liked a lot more. But overall, I would definitely give this filament a recommendation. It's super reliable, it looks really nice, and I'll show you a couple of the models here in just a second. So, the ubiquitous 3D printer test, Benchy, show some close-ups right here. As you can see on this Benchy, it's extremely good quality, especially for only having this printer for a couple of weeks. The interior has pretty good detail. The bridging the bridging is just great. There's absolutely no stringing anywhere on this Benchy. I have not cleaned this Benchy up at all, aside from removing the brim. I did print it with a brim and I removed the brim, but that is about it. And it looks like somebody almost carved this Benchy out of marble. It's incredible. I posted a picture of my I posted a picture of the Yoda that I'm about to show you here in a minute on Reddit, and several people said, like, you know, this filament actually looks really good. And I was like, I know, it's great. So we also have, go ahead and show you the Yoda. I'll show some close-ups of this right now. The detail on Yoda's face is actually really incredible. This was printed at 0.06 millimeters layer height, so it was printed at the most fine resolution that Cura has a default profile for. I did use a couple of supports, and then that nameplate on the front is actually, the first few layers are the marble PLA, and then everything that was text, we swapped the PLA out for some black PLA that we had lying around so that text would really stand off and be embossed. Before all of this, we actually printed this test cube, which I haven't even taken the brim off yet. I'll show some close-ups of this. This was not our best test cube ever, which is kind of weird because of how good the other prints turned out, but it was good enough to make us feel pretty confident that this filament was going to work for what we wanted it to do. And it was at about that point that we decided to print this sheet of marble. So just went into Fusion 360, drew up a sheet really quick. I believe it's like a millimeter thick and about 200 by 200 millimeters, and then filleted edges. Super easy to design, but it really does showcase, and I'll obviously show some close-ups here. It showcases how good this filament looks, and I wish I had a piece of marble to hold it up to see how good it actually looks against real marble, but it looks really, really nice. After we printed the sheet, we wanted to print something a lot more textured, so we printed this rock face, and I really wish that we had taken the time to print this at the maximum resolution, because there are definitely some spots on the surfaces and the tops of the rocks that I'll show right here that could really benefit from that extra resolution. But overall, this looked really good, and we wanted to print this because we had a lizard that needed a home, and I'll show some pictures of this up close as well. This is actually one of my new favorite models. I discovered it semi-recently. It's an articulating lizard. I don't know if you've ever seen like the fish fossils ones, but this is like the most articulating model I've ever seen. It's all print in place. And this really does help to showcase the lack of stringing in a filament. And this can also help you tune in some retraction settings and stuff, because all of these joints have to be perfectly printed or it will not articulate this well. I'm really impressed with how well this articulated. I'm really impressed with this filament overall. The settings that we ended up printing at 200 degrees Celsius on the the hot end, and then 60 degrees Celsius on the heat bed. Those are the settings I use for all PLA, and it worked perfectly, just like expected on this PLA. Another thing to note was the quality of the shipping materials for this filament. It was actually really, really good to see. They put the filament spool down in a Ziploc bag with a silica packet vacuum sealed. Never seen that before in the Ziploc bag. And they also shipped all of that inside a box, which I love to see the boxes. It helps the spools. It helps you stack all your spools up, and then if you buy spools that don't come in boxes, you get to keep those boxes and reuse them for more spools. Overall, I didn't have any experience with jamming, and this is a Bowden system. I had no experience with jamming, had no experiences with any extreme stringing or anything like that at all. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and go check out my review of the Eryone Thinker SE. It's a great printer, great price, and it's a massive print bed. Thank you very much, and I highly recommend the Eryone Marble PLA. Have a good day.